Oh, where'd my chat menu go? There it is. What would be a point on my graph then? If Addie just filled in this chart, what's one of my coordinate points? What you think? Right, the coordinate points correspond to the chart directly. So like what would one of them be? If I listed it as a coordinate point, so like the whole parentheses, comma, and then the parentheses, what would one of my points be? Yeah, you're right. My x would be -2 and my y would be 12. So I would go -2 and -12. And then provided that I have enough spots on my chart, I could go to the left -2 and down to -12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, there's not enough spots. So I can't graph that one. What's another point on my graph? And honestly, if I was just going to graph it, I'd probably pick some real easy points to graph, right? I'll probably pick those 3 points because you don't need to graph every single one. So I could go 1, -3. Wait, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I got to move that up a little bit. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 0, and then 3, 3. So, yeah. Which of those guys is my y-intercept? What is my y-intercept of this? -6. -6 is my y-intercept because that is where my graph is crossing the y-axis. And if I look at my chart, that is when x equals 0. Remember from last week, when you have x equals 0, you have a y-intercept. Cool. And what is my slope of this line? And you're right, Malachi, very good point. And -6 is at the end of my equation. Yeah, all of that tells you what the y-intercept is. What about my slope? What would my slope of this line be? You could either count it on the line, you could calculate it from the table, or you could read it right in front of the x. And yes, Malachi, you are right. It's 3, 1 because it takes 1, 2, 3. So we go up 3 and right 1 to get to that next point. Or that's the number right in front of the x. So my slope is 3. And every whole number has a 1 in the bottom. So good. Good, good. Okay. So let me know you're back and alive by typing something in chat, unless you have already been. So Addie and Malachi, you guys have been typing. Piper's back. Cool. Addie. Emma, Nadia, very good. Audrey, Ava, Lucy. Freya, are you here? My kitty buddy, Andrea. Hi back, I'm dad. That is a dad joke, totally. Boom. Natalia. Scott, are you still here? Ayub? Ayub. Let me know you're live. I'm going to tell you guys that if I don't start hearing from some people during live session, I'm definitely going to use that to adjust your, getting credit for the live session. Because I do not think that you should get credit if you don't, even type. How do I know you're there then? Makes me sad. So, okay, so we're here. You guys should have notes because we're going to talk about a lot of kind of heavy algebra stuff today. Nothing too crazy, but you know, we got to go through it. Um, so yeah, this is what is due this week. You guys should have already done your math mindset lesson because it's super quick. Get it out of the way. So that's this guy right there. Then I think out of all of these, the easiest one to kind of crank out there is 3.02. Correct me if I'm wrong, people who have already done it, but it's not too bad. Pretty good there. Then we've got point slope and then the converting linear equations. It's just a lot of algebra. So take notes. That is my helpful hint for the day. Algebra. Bruh, it's algebra. Bruh. Bruh. Okay, so you guys already know this stuff. This is slope-intercept form, right? If I were you, I would write stuff in your notes just so you have the different labels because your job is to know the difference between slope-intercept form, point slope form, and then standard form, okay? So today, we've already done this. We've already done slope-intercept form where m is your slope. That's equal to your rise over run. B is your y-intercept. That's where the line crosses the y-axis. And which one's the y-axis? No problem. Which one's the y-axis? Which one? Where is it? Guys, where is it? Tell me where it is. Where's the y-axis? The tall one. Yes, it's the tall one. This is my y-axis up there. My x-axis is horizontal. Good. Okay, so the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. It's when your x value is 0. And it's what you plot first. So you're going to put a dot for that y-intercept, and then you move according to your slopes. We go up 3, right 1. And 3 is the change or the ratio between your table. Okay. So remember, if you wanted to find the slope, all you really got to do, well, you got to find how the graph is changing to get through the different y values. So, cha. Cool. Cool, cool. Any questions on slope-intercept form? Okay. So now, if you're given a graph, you guys have to be able to put it into the equation. Okay? So when you're writing this equation, your y and your x are always going to be the same all the time. Okay? So what do you guys think is the easiest thing to pull from the graph to put in your equation first? What should I look at on this graph first? What do you guys think? Yeah, definitely look at the points. That's where you're going to focus. Very good, Emma. So we're going to focus on one point in particular first. Which point should I focus on first? Yeah. The middle is going to be helpful, but the bottom or the one crossing the Y is where you want to focus first because that is your y-intercept. Okay, so that we are crossing, what does that look like? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you guys agree that's at 4, -4, excuse me? It's crossing in the negative y area. That's -4. So that's going to go on the end. And since it's crossing at a negative, it's going to be -4. Is it exactly the same to say plus -4? Could I do that? Yes, you sure can. Right, very good. So now we got to figure out that slope. And we're going to have to count it, definitely. And that's why it helps to focus on the middle point or the other points. We're going to count how to get from the y-intercept to the next point. What do you guys think the slope of this graph is? What do you think? How do I get from the y-intercept to the next point? How far up do I go? Yeah, and Malachi says 3/1, and let's check that. That means if it's 3/1, that means it takes up 3, right 1. Okay, so let's check it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm in line with that point. And now to the right one. Good. Piper, what you were thinking, what I think so, correct me if I'm wrong, is what like everybody does. Everybody does this. Piper, you were probably going, oh no, it's okay. Seriously, this is so common. Piper probably went this way. She probably went right 1, up 3. Totally makes sense to do that. That's very common. Just don't forget. And it makes a better shape, I think, honestly. But just don't forget, you got to go up or down first. Totally. So I'm so glad you brought that up. That's good. So our slope is 3/1, but we don't need to put 3/1 into the equation. We're just going to put 3. And that's it. That's the equation. Either one works. That's all you got to do. You got to read it right off the graph. Any questions on that? Okay, good stuff, you guys. Okay, so now, oh, I have some choices on there. They look a little weird, but which one of those do you guys think? And I don't like that. I'm just going to have you guys do it if that's cool. Haha, you can see through it. Look at that. So, guys, what do you think the equation of this line should be? What do you guys think? And I'll put our standard stuff on there. We have y that's going to stay the same and x. Okay, so we have either y equals 3x minus 4. Piper, it's okay. What do you, it's no big deal. Are you, okay. If you're sure, it's entirely possible other people are wrong. It's all good. But we're thinking 1/3 x minus 4. Okay, let's check that. So we're definitely crossing the y-axis at -4. Yep, so that's a really good y-intercept. Now we got to check that slope, and we have to go up or down first. Oh my gosh, Piper, I'm with you, me too. So we would go up 1, that puts us in line with that other point, and over 3. So it's definitely going to be 1/3 x minus 4. Oh yeah, Vlad, that does it for me. Naps usually mess me up. Okay, any questions on how to write the slope-intercept form given the graph? Okay, let's look at the table here. So it remains the same. We need to get a slope and a y-intercept. Okay, so if we were to read a y-intercept is when x is what? 0. And on this table, there is no 0 for x. However, we should be able to follow the pattern to figure out what that y value would be if x is 0. What's happening with our y's? How are they changing every time? By 3. Yeah, they're either going up by 3 or minus 3. Definitely. So if I go one further, if I say, well, if x is 0, what would y be? What would I subtract from that 4? It would be 1. Yeah, you're right, because if 7 to 4 means you subtract 3, so 4 to the next one. Oh, that's okay. You would also subtract 3, so it's 1. So that means if x is 0, y is 1. That is our y-intercept. Does that make sense, guys? When x is 0, whatever the y is your y-intercept. So we would say plus 1 at the bottom there. How do I find the slope? Do you guys remember that equation, what to do? You guys remember how to calculate slope? And technically, you don't even have to calculate it. It just relates to how those values are changing. Yeah, the one without. Yes, Piper, you got it. You're going to take your two y values and subtract them, and then divide by your two x values subtracted. Right. And I'll tell you a little trick here, okay? It's kind of cool. So let's pick 2 points. I don't know. We can pick points right here. We can pick 0, 1, and we can pick 1, 4. So we're going to subtract our two y's. That's the 4 and the 1. Excuse me. So the 4 and the 1. So 4 minus 1. And then subtract our two x's. 1 minus 0. And we get 3 over 1, which is the same as 3. And look, that's the same amount that our y's are changing. So you don't even need to do the formula, guys. You could just look at how your y's are changing as your x's get bigger. So you got to go from left to right. But if you look at it from left to right, and you're like, hey, every time my x gets bigger, my y changes by 3. That's your slope. Okay, so you just got to look at how the y's are changing, and that turns into your slope. Or you can pick 2 points off of there and do that formula. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. If it doesn't, let me know. Happy to explain further. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the point slope formula or equation. It's a little different, but you get the same idea. It's another way to come up with a point. Okay, so the point slope equation is what we use when we're given a point and a slope. And if we want to come up with an equation, this is an option of how to get that equation. Okay, this is the point slope formula. It is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The y1 and the x1, that's your point. That's the y value of the point they give you and the x value of the point they give you. And the m is your slope. Okay, so all we would do is you would take your point and your slope. So right away, I would take that m and I would put it in front of the parentheses there. So the y is going to stay the same. The m turns into your slope, and the x stays the same. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. It's pretty tricky there. Yeah. So when we do this, you always put the m in front of the parentheses. It always stays there. Always, always. And then your point comes from that other point they give you. Yeah, Lucy, very good job. So notice how Lucy said y plus 2 and x minus 3. Why does this turn into a plus 2 if we have a negative 2 for our y? Why is Lucy saying this should be y plus 2? This is what Lucy said. And I concur. I say that is correct. So she put her x value in next to her x. But this y value is a negative 2. So why is Lucy saying plus 2? Yeah, very good, Lucy. Way to answer your own question. But she's right. There's two of the same symbol. And when you have a minus minus, remember that turns plus. Cool. So let's do that with this one. So the y and the x, oops, I wrote that weird. They stay the same. Okay. What is the slope that I'm going to put for number 2 into that equation? What's my slope? What's going to go in front of the parentheses? -7. Yep, that's my slope. That goes in front of the parentheses. What am I going to stick next to the y here? What's going to go over here? Y minus what? What do you think? What's my y value from the points that they gave me? And remember, if you're unsure, you can always write it on the screen. Malachi, that's right. 9 is the y value. Okay, remember, every coordinate point is x comma y. And 9 is your y value. So that goes next to your x, or y. Oh my gosh, sorry. What's going to go next to my x there? What's my x value of the point that they gave me? I know, right? Come on, hello. Hello, hello. What's the x value? It's x comma y. And you can write on the screen if you're a little unsure. That's right. I agree with you, Malachi. I want to make sure everybody knows how to do it. What do you guys think? Vlad, Addie, Nadia, Freya, what do you guys think? No, it's okay. Piper, you've been answering a lot of questions. You're good. So has Lucy. There's been a few. So what do you guys think? If they gave you the point -5, 9, which one of those is my x? -5, right. So I'm going to put a -5 into the formula. Now, what is the very last thing I have to do with this x minus a -5 to make it look simplified a little bit better? What am I going to put there? Aha, that's right. Yeah, x plus 5. Good. Very good. And then that is my point slope formula. Now, how do I do that if they give me 2 points? I'm missing a slope. What am I going to have to do? Yeah, find it. Do the slope formula. And the slope formula tells me I'm going to subtract my y's. Oh yeah, it's the equation you hate. Over my x's subtracted. So what are the 2 y's that I'm going to subtract in that formula? What are my y's? Remember, all points are in x comma y.
3 minus 0.
3 minus 0. Beautiful. And what goes on the bottom?
6 minus 2.
Perfection. Thank you, Addie. 6 minus 2. So that leaves us with 3 over 6 minus 2 is 4. So we have a slope of 3/4. Very, very good. Very good. Okay, so now putting it into the point slope formula, okay, I'm going to leave my y's there, my y and my x. Okay, the slope, where does the slope go? Where do I put the slope in that formula?
In the middle, right?
In the middle, yeah, right in front of that parentheses. That's the slope spot. Okay, so now we can pick either one. Either one. You can pick your 2 minus 0, or you can pick 6 minus 3. Since this one has a 0, let's just pick 6 and 3. Okay? So of the 6, but you can pick either one. Either one is correct. Of the 6, 3, which one's my y that's going to go next to the y there?
6.
6 my x or my y?
3.
3. Yes, right. You're like, if it's not the first one, it's the other. No, you're right. You're right. So 3 is my y, and then 6 is my x. And I don't have to do any simplifying because it's all good there. Questions, my friends? Please don't forget, it's just like Malachi said and Piper said, that if you're doing this in Math Excel and you're getting it wrong, you get infinite tries. It tells you what you did wrong, and then you get to do it again. You might need to take a break if you're getting frustrated, but yeah, that's the way it is. I think we'll do this one next time. Slope intercept form given a slope and a point. For now, if you're given a slope and a point, I just want you to use point slope. There is a way to do it, but for time purposes, we'll do it later. Okay. So the other part of your lesson this week is switching back and forth between point slope. Here's point slope, slope intercept, and standard form. Yes, that is hard. You're right. It is. It's tricky. Remember our special equations. We have the horizontal line at y equals and the vertical line at x equals. Okay? Those are the unique ones. They're not really apart. Yeah. We're going to practice that now. You guys who did it, you did a good job though. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay, so first thing, we are given a slope and a point. So we're going to use point slope formula. Okay, if you are given a slope and a point, put it in point slope first, and then you can convert between the two. Okay, so here's my point slope formula. Let's put our slope in there first. Slope goes in front of the parentheses. What is my slope in that one? What number is going to go right in front of the parentheses?
3.
3. Good job. 3. Very good. 3 goes right in front of the parentheses. What is my y in this one?
You're going to change it to +4.
Very good. Yes, ma'am. That is a -4. So since the minus is already a part of the formula, we're going to put it in as +4. And what's my x that's going to go in there? What do you guys think? And the x is found up here in this information. Which one of those is an x? 5. It's the only one we haven't used yet, right? The 5. The 5 goes right in the parentheses. So that's my point slope formula. That one's done. Now it says I have to convert to slope intercept formula. And guys, look up here. Slope intercept formula is when there's just a y on the left side or on one side. So we want it to look like this. All we want to see is a slope and a y-intercept. So we just got to do some algebra manipulating first. Okay? So let's start with those parentheses. How could I get rid of those parentheses? What's that property?
Distribute the 3
Very
with multiplication.
Yes, nice job. We're going to distribute that 3 with multiplication. So we take the slope and we multiply it throughout the parentheses. So that gives us y plus 4 equals 3x. I have to keep that minus, and then 15. Now I'm almost done. I'm almost to the point where I have y on one side by itself, but there's a +4 over there. So how do I get rid of that +4? And remember, in algebra, when we want to get rid of something on one side of the equation, we do the opposite operation to get it off of that side and onto the other side. So what's the opposite of +4?
-4.
Yeah, very good. We're going to subtract 4. And then I can't subtract 4 from the 3x because those aren't like terms. So I'm going to subtract 4 over here. So that cancels. We're left with y equals 3x. And then what math would I do to simplify that? Trick question here, is that -15 minus 4 or 15 minus 4? What do you guys think? Trick question there. And not really a trick question, but that is the question. Is that -15 minus 4 or 15 minus 4? And you can write it on the screen if you don't want to say it or type it. What do you think? And I'll remind you guys, remember when we wrote our point slope formula or our slope intercept formula from the graph? Remember, if we had a negative here, that meant it was plotted in the negative y area. That's my big hint. What do you think? I'm not going to shame you if you get it wrong. It's okay. I'll let you see my unicorn slippers. Aren't those epic? They were $1 at Walmart. My daughter's jealous. Ha ha. What do you guys think? Come on, we're almost done. Oh my goodness. I've stunned you into silence with my question. So what is it? Which one? Okay, here we go. Here's what I'll do. Is that negative 15? Yes, Lucy, thank you. Good job. It is negative 15 minus 4, so it should be negative 19. And that is my final answer. Sorry if I worded that question weird. That could have happened. Me and the English language don't get along sometimes. Okay, very good with that, guys. Any direct questions? It's okay to feel kind of unsure about it, but any questions about that? About what we just did? Okay. Cool. Okay, so sometimes you have to go a step further. Good, good, I'm glad. Sometimes you have to go from point slope to slope intercept to standard form. Okay, so we're going to start, and standard form is when the x and the y are on the same side and you have no fractions. That's key, no fractions there. Okay, so we have a slope and a point. So we're going to start by putting it in point slope formula. Okay, so what is my slope in that formula there? Which one of those is my slope? In that information that I have drawn a beautiful box around. I can make it more beautiful. That's okay. That's why we're going to do it. That's all right. So right now we're just going to start with point slope. Okay? So point slope. What is the slope in that equation? Negative 9. That goes right in front of the parentheses. Good. Okay. Now, which is the y? So this was my slope, so that's gone. So which one of those is my y? The negative 8 or the negative 7? Come on, guys, this is our last example, and then we are home free, all done. Negative 7, thank you, Malachi. So that one is our y. If it's a negative 7, that means it goes into our formula as a positive 7. That means that x is that negative 8, so it turns into a positive 8. So boom, I have point slope. Now what do I do to start putting it into slope intercept? What's that first step that we did? It starts with a D. Rhymes with ibute.
Distribute.
Beautiful. Yeah, we distribute. Very good. So we're going to take the negative 9 and we're going to distribute it with multiplication throughout those parentheses. So we get y plus 7 equals negative 9x. Negative 9 times 8. Is that negative 72? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yep, definitely. Cool. Now what? What's my last step to get the y by itself? Opposite of plus 7? Minus 7. Very good. And I do it from the 72. So we're left with y equals negative 9x. Remember, this is really negative 72 minus 7. What's negative 72 minus 7? 7. Is that negative 79? Is that what that is? Okay, cool. So negative 79. Now the last step, if I want to put that in standard form, and sometimes Math Excel will do that for you, if you try and type it in slope intercept form, they'll mark it wrong because they want it in standard form. So you got to read the writing there. All I have to do to get it in standard form is I have to move this negative 9x over to the other side. So what's the opposite of negative 9x? It's the same thing you do to get a variable on the other side. Yes, we're going to add 9x. And you can't combine those together because one of them is an x and one of them is a y. So our final answer is 9x plus y equals negative 79. That's it. Whew, that's a lot of algebra for today. And we're only 3 minutes late. Look at that. I know. No crying. No crying. It's okay. That's a lot of algebra. So we're not going to do that now. Don't worry. That is all I have for you guys today. I know that was a lot. It's a lot of heavy algebra and equations and stuff. So if you need help, let me know. But you are free to go. Have a wonderful week.
Adios.
Adios.